When I moved from Ghana to France, I experienced so many culture shocks. One of it for me was the fact that drivers will stop by themselves at zebra crossing and allow people to cross the road. Nobody to direct traffic, nobody to tell them to stop by themselves. Drivers stop for people to cross. Okay, so a little background story of myself. I am Sharon. I schooled in Ghana. I mean, the greater part of my life was spent in Ghana. I schooled there, so I was a teacher, a French teacher in Ghana. But then I realized that my spoken French wasn't that good, and I wouldn't understand it so much when someone is speaking. However, when I have a script or when I have a passage that I'm reading, it's very easier for me. So I decided to move to France to study better myself and see the next move. So I came to school in France, and I got so many culture shocks. So like I said, the first one was the fact that cars actually stop at zebra crossing and allow people to pass without anybody asking these drivers to stop. It was a big shock to me because I don't really experience this in Ghana. When I was in Ghana, you don't get drivers stopping by themselves for people to cross, pedestrians to cross the road. It doesn't really happen. So it was a big shock to me. Next was the weather. I mean, we've all heard that it's cold out here, it's cold out here. But I think that when you get here, the experience is quite different. I don't know. It was very cold. I remember when I got here, my sister and her family live at Paris. So when I got here in September, I felt that it wasn't, we just got inside, I got home. So I got deceived. And I think 3 days later, I said that I wanted to see the Eiffel Tower. So my sister and her family took me there. I remember I was in a white shirt and I said, I'm not going to wear anything. I don't want to wear a jacket. It's too hot. The weather is fine for me. So we went out at around 3 p.m. and I will never forget this experience because when it was getting darker, or when night was drawing nigh, it was getting colder and I was very cold. In fact, I was shivering. And my sister said, well, you just came from Africa and I'm telling you it gets very cold. And this is what you tell me? Now you got to experience it for it to be a lesson to you. And since then, I never argue with the weather. I mean, regardless of even what the meteo will say to me, the weather forecast will say to me, I still have to have a backup plan. So the weather also was a very big shock to me. Again, I also experienced banking system. I mean, in Ghana, you go and you have tellers, almost 10 tellers, and you join a queue, they attend to you, you can deposit your money through them. I mean, you give it to them, they will deposit it. If you have to withdraw and you don't want to use your ATM, you go there, they'll withdraw it for you. Whatever it is, you run in there. But over here, there is no teller. No teller at the bank. So as soon as you enter the bank, I think you are greeted by somebody who is supposed to be at the reception, and only managers and people are in their offices. There is no teller. That was a very big shock to me. How do the people bank over here? So I realized that you don't need tellers. You can do your deposit with your ATM card. You can withdraw. You can, and over here we use the card more to contactless. I mean, you buy things with your card. It's either you do the contactless or you insert it and then you go in with your PIN, so you don't need teller. With time, I got accustomed to it, but when I came here, it was a very big shock to me because I didn't understand it. I didn't know that I wasn't used to the fact that using the banking app. So I didn't have a bank app. I was so confused, but now it's normal to me. But I remember it was a big shock to me when I got here. And then you have to book an appointment for everything. In Ghana, you can just walk into the bank anytime. make your transactions, and go. But over here, you cannot go and see your conseiller just at any time you want. You have to book an appointment. So you have an issue with your account, you want to see somebody at the bank, you need to book an appointment, because if you walk in and you don't have any appointment, you cannot be attended to. That was a very big shock to me. You want to go to the hospital, you need to book an appointment. You need to see somebody at school, you need to book an appointment. You want a job or something, you need to book an, everything is appointment based over here. And it was quite difficult to get adjusted to it, but now I have accustomed to it. But it was quite tough at the beginning. I just couldn't understand it. So there are times I'll just walk into a place forgetting that I had to book an appointment. Even at restaurants, sometimes you need to book your place. If not, you enter a restaurant and they'll tell you it's all booked, there's no place for you. So everything over here is you need to have booked an appointment before you can be attended to. That was a very big shock to me. And then postal services here in Ghana is almost phased out. So it's very, very important documents, very essential and important documents that get posted to you. But here, everything is posted there. Even if you go to a bank, your address, you need to have your postal system everywhere, because every single document is posted to you. The postal services is not that vibrant. I can see that of late the Ghana postal services are trying to, but over here, the way the postal system is and everything is through the post, your address, your post, honestly, it's not like that in Ghana. Not that I experienced. It's not that vibrant in Ghana. I mean, in Ghana, not every home has a postal unit where you can have their post code and deposit with a postal box to deposit their presents, their orders, and everything in it. You don't have that in Ghana. But over here, every home has their own postal box where your deliveries, things that you order, the letters that you receive, everything is dropped in your box, and then you open it and you take it. Ghana is not like that. We have a post office where the few that have postal codes go there from time to time. So when I was in Ghana, I remember we used to use our church, so that for very official documents that needed to come by post, we take it to our church, and every Sunday it will be announced, those who have had letters, and in case that you receive the letter, you go to the office, mention your name in the search, and give it to you. So for people that live in compound houses in Ghana, we don't really have access to postal services. So the postal services here is completely different from that in Ghana. Also, socialization. I realized that over here it's just you, and if you have your nuclear family, just you and your nuclear family. In case you don't live with your nuclear family and you live alone, it's just you come home. I have lived in my apartment currently for almost 3 years. I do not know the person that I'm in this flat with. We are two over here in my apartment, his apartment. The person, I don't even know whether it's a male or a female. That person is also at the other end, but I have never set eyes on them, and it's been 3 years. So there is no point. You don't get to socialize. It's only work, school, work, home, or your routine. You don't get to meet people. So that was a big culture shock to me as well. And then Christmas holidays. In Ghana, Christmas is a buoyant festival. Christmas, Easter, these are buoyant festivals where you see people in the street, people greeting people, all cheerful. Sometimes even in the compound houses, people exchange food. Everyone is happy. You are going to church, you see people in the street. Over here in France, it's not like that. Everyone, especially on the 25th, is inside their house. You don't see anybody outside. Nothing works. The grocery stores don't open. The transport system don't work. Nothing works. So if you don't have a car, there's no access to bus or trains or trams. Grocery stores, like I said, don't open. So if you don't make your groceries a day before, or 2 days before, on that Christmas day, know that nothing works over here. And it's the same for every other holiday. So for example, on 1st May, nothing works. I remember one time I booked a flight to England on the 1st of May, and I had completely forgotten that 1st of May is a holiday, general holiday. And then when I stepped out, I realized nothing was working. So I had to book an Uber from here to the airport. So during holidays, Christmas holidays, May Day, every other holiday, nothing works. No bus system, no train, nothing. And that's a very big shock. Because in Ghana, every time you go out, you get public transport. Every time. And the public transport system too is quite different here. Because here it's more, I don't want to say organized, but I think I'd have to use it. And you work with bus times and train times, so you don't just get bus and train just anytime you want, like Ghana, where anytime you can just stop a taxi or a trotro or a bus. Over here, if a bus is supposed to pass at 10:15, that's the time it's supposed to pass. So if you get there at 10:16 and you are a minute late, you have to wait for the next one. It doesn't care whether you are late, whether you are running late, whether you are running early. You work with a bus time, so you always have to prepare yourself, check your bus app or your train app. And if you have a car, that's completely different for you, that you can move around anytime you want. But if you don't and you rely on public transport, you have to understand the bus times, the waiting times, how it works, and also the fact that during holidays, buses don't work. The fact that people smoke everywhere in Europe. Everywhere. Everybody's smoking in Europe. I mean, it's something that's quite common at the bus stop. You get people smoking. I mean, it's a very big culture shock for me. Because you don't see people smoking in the open like that, or that many people, but over here, so one way or the other, you're always inhaling, so you just have to be careful the way you move, where you move, and all of that. So you inhale, for me personally, you inhale too much of, these things when you're over here than when you're in Africa. So yeah, these are some of the things that have shocked me over time as I have lived here. But I mean, having lived there for quite some time, I have adjusted. Like, I'm accustomed to some of the ways that we live here, so much so that even when I go home, it seems different to me. I remember when I went home in Ghana and I had an appointment at the passport office. My appointment was, I think, 8:30. But then on my way, I realized that I had even left the old passport at home, so I had to go back. And I was so agitated because I realized that the time I go back to the post office, to the passport office, my appointment time would have passed. So I was quite nervous. So when I got there, obviously it was past my appointment time. I got in there and I thought that the time that is allocated to you is up, you'll be called by your name, because everybody had a time that they had to book, that they could book. So for example, I thought that if your time is 8:40, at 8:40 they'll come and call you. And I remember I was walking with a friend of mine who's an army officer, and he was like, "Have you forgotten yourself? You're in Ghana, girl." Then I realized that, it's not really like that. It doesn't work that way. When you go, you wait, and it doesn't matter the time that you booked your appointment. So when I got here, these are some of the culture shocks that I got. And also, in school, you can call lecturers by their name, either their first name or their surname. You can just call them. Oh la la, you don't do that in Ghana or in Africa. You cannot call an elderly person by their first name. For example, if your lecturer is probably Charles, you just can't call them Charles. But over here you can. But in Ghana, it's a taboo. That was one very big culture shock to me, that it's sometimes still uneasy for me to reconcile the fact that I had to call my superiors or people by their first names or their names just like that, without adding Mr. or Sir or something. So these are some of the culture shocks I've experienced. What have you, if you're in the diaspora, what culture shock have you experienced since you came here? Drop it in the comment section. And thank you very much for staying with me through my video. I hope you are enjoying my videos. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It means a lot to me. Thank you, my community. Thank you for staying with me. And see you in the next video.